Good morning and welcome back to my Potter's Journal. This morning I wanted to come back and create the jack-o'-lanterns that are the next phase in my pumpkin creation. Before I do that, there's something I wanted to share with you because I made a mistake. And this is the pumpkin that I made in the previous video. And when I was finished with him, I just set him on the shelf. And because of temperature variances and, of course, summer getting hotter, the humidity in my studio decreased. And because of that, the stem and the body were at different wetnesses of clay, and they started to separate. So there are cracks in the top of this pumpkin. And because of that, he's going to actually end up in my scrap bucket and become something else at a later time. A way that I normally would deal with this is I have these makeshift damp boxes. They don't have plaster in them, but these are weather shield Ziploc boxes, and they actually seal. And he should have gone into one of these boxes and sat there for 2 or 3 days before coming out and sitting on the shelf, because that allows the moisture in the clay to kind of stabilize between the different appendages that I put on there. So this little guy and his brother are actually going to end up in this damp box for a couple days before, because I don't want them to crack. I make 2 different styles of pumpkins. I make a friendly one and a mischievous one. I call the friendly ones just that, they're my friends, and then the mischievous ones are fiends. I'm going to make both versions today, and I'm going to make them brothers. The first thing I do after the pumpkin is formed is I decide where I'm going to put the face, and I just take a pencil and I draw it on there. The eyes pretty much determine which pumpkin they're going to be. The pupils of my friendly ones are always at the bottom. The pupils of my mischievous ones are always at the top. Sometimes I give my jack-o'-lantern teeth, sometimes I don't. The mouth, usually for the friendly ones, is kind of like that Cupid's bow type thing. And this is just basic form. The next thing I do before I actually start carving is I will take and I will stamp their names. These are actually going to a very special person, and she requested the name Jack. I have these MKM stamps, and I will take, and on the bottom in the center, and just spell out the name. I like these stamps. I wish they had different fonts, and maybe they do. I haven't looked at their stamps in a long time. After the name, my name goes. So, didn't do that very well. There we go. So, he has a name, he has a face. Now, before I carve the face, I'm going to add some cheeks and maybe some eyebrows, and I just take a little bit of scrap clay, roll it out into a rope, and figure out where I want to put them. This clay is pretty damp, so it will not need much slip. probably could just get away with water. All right. The next thing I use is I have this little wooden tool. It's a Kemper tool. It was given to me by one of my instructors one time because I didn't have one, and she's like, I have tons of these, and I absolutely love it. And I do use it to blend the clay together. Now I am covering up the pencil lines for the top of his eye, but that's okay because that's that area of his eyebrow is going to be where I actually cut the hole. If you've ever, and most people have carved an actual pumpkin, it's kind of the same thing. You think about the face you want to use. You can be as elaborate or as simple as you want. Over the years, these guys have just become more and more elaborate, but that's okay. So I'm just going to take the paintbrush, smooth out some areas that I couldn't smooth with my finger. All right, his eyebrows are pretty much in. The next thing I like to do is I like to add some cheeks. And I just roll out a bit of clay, kind of shape it like a bean, and like probably a kidney bean would be more accurate. And take my knife and split my bean in half. Also take my knife and kind of push it in a little bit because our jack-o'-lanterns are going to be smiling. So this is going to come sit at the crease of their mouth. Just kind of sketch that in a little bit. Score it just a little bit on both sides, inside those lines that you drew, so you know where you're putting it back. All right. Now, again, you're going to take your Kemper tool, or you can use your finger, and you're going to blend so that it matches with the body of your pumpkin. Get inside there. Now, it's okay if one cheek is a little bit bigger than the other cheek. They don't have to match perfectly. In fact, if there are slight variances, it makes it look more natural. Then I take my finger, wet it a little bit, and start smoothing this out. While I'm smoothing it out, I'm pushing from the bottom of the pumpkin up so that he gets a cheekbone. You can also use a sponge for this if you would prefer. It's really up to you. What I'm doing right now is I'm just looking at the face overall and trying to make sure that there are not any tool marks and that there's a smoothness to what I've added. All right, so you can still see the lines for the face. You can still see the lines for the mouth. And he's pretty much ready to start carving. I have two knives that I like to use. One is the Zeem, and then I have my Dolan knife because the blade of this one is a little bit more flexible. I'm going to start with the eye first. And just follow that outline and pop it out. I also have this tool, not exactly sure what it is, but I use it because I can get inside the eye and smooth that out. Sometimes I can get my finger in there, a lot of times I can't. So that tool does seem to work. You could also just take a pencil and dampen the wood a little bit and do the same thing. Taking the brush, coming in, cleaning it up as I go, makes life so much easier to do it that way. All right, first eye is done. Going to repeat the process on the other side. Now, you could create a template for your eyes so that you can get them to match exactly. I kind of eyeball it and come back in and take a little bit more out where I need to. But like I said, I've been doing these guys for a while, so I look at them and think that they don't have to match exactly. That's kind of like our face isn't completely symmetrical and adds personality to who we are. That's kind of how I think about these guys too. Because I'm going to be doing lots of manipulating once his face is completely carved. Like, I need to, I just took my finger and stuck it into his left eye socket and pushed up a little bit because I noticed that the top of his eye didn't quite meet the top of where his right eye was. And that helped create the shape that I was hoping to get. All right, so 2 eyeballs, and now he needs a mouth. Easiest way for me to create the mouth is I go in the middle and cut down to the bottom, and I cut each side separately. That way I'm only having to deal with half of the clay. Now I'm cutting up into the cheek area because I want him to be smiling. And there he is. he's smiling. Taking my finger, because I can use my finger here rather than using the wooden tool, and smoothing those edges. I don't want any sharp edges. Messed up that cheek. Now, so he has a little quirky little smile. What's going to make this even better is I'm going to take my thumb and my index finger, put it on each side of his cheeks, and I'm just going to squeeze just a little bit. So that's going to take and make the mouth a little bit narrower and just give it a little quirkiness. It also means I need to come in and check the sides of his mouth, take out any excess clay that I displaced, come back, smooth things out, make sure that I don't leave any fingerprints with my, and I don't like the way the left side looks. So I'm going to take my thumb and I'm just going to press it just a little bit because the pumpkin is still pliable enough that I can maneuver it. And again, I like him. He's kind of cool. I have these tools by Laura Rust, and she gives an excellent workshop on pushing clay. I like to use these to come in and give kind of dimples to my pumpkins in their cheeks. Again, everyone is going to be different. I kind of messed up his cheek. My finger was a little bit too damp. So, basic face. And like with the regular, sorry, I noticed there's an issue right there. The regular pumpkin that I did, I'm going to give this little guy a leaf. I think I want to curl it. Wonderful thing about clay is how malleable it is. And you can really pretty much create everything you want. You just have to figure out how. I'm going to just attach this leaf to his stem with a little bit of slip. I scored the leaf, but because my stems pretty much are completely scored, I don't have to do that to the stem itself. It's already scored, so I just need to score the leaf and attach it. So I'm going to pick him up, take a look at him. He needs a little smoothing out. He's kind of fun. If this is a boy, because his name is Jack, so he doesn't or isn't going to get as many features as like I would give my females. Like I would normally give the females eyelashes and things like that. But I am going to come in just with a pencil and give him a couple of catches to his eyes, you know, kind of like if you were drawing or painting, you would put areas in the eyes to show where the sun is glinting. Kind of that idea, so that the glaze can react with his eyes. So there is our friend. His name is Jack, and he's ready to go into the damp box. Second pumpkin we're working on would be this gentleman right here. And because I'm going to make these two siblings, his stem is going to the right, so I'm going to take this guy and make his stem go to the left. That's just a design aesthetic that for me. So again, same thing, come in, draw the face. My fiends are more mischievous. So I tend to give them more of, say, like a spooky pumpkin type of eye. They're more slanted. If I was going to create a jack-o'-lantern out of a real pumpkin. I didn't line that up right. So I'm just going to take my finger, erase where I had carved that eye. Because it's clay, I can do that. Now, his smile, I'm going to make a little cockeyed because, again, he's mischievous. So I kind of think he has like a side grin. Eyebrows, cheeks, same pattern as the pumpkin before. However, where the other one had kind of short, straight over the eyes, eyebrows, this guy, I want his to come and almost be like wings above his eyes. Ooh, I like the way that gives me an idea when we get back to after we've carved his face, the details we can give him. So again, this clay is pretty wet, so just need some water. Press it down, kind of shape it just a little bit. Also, something that goes into the making of these guys and the differences. When I glaze the friendly ones, I use Amico's Deep Sienna Speckle. It's a really good darker orange. For the fiends, I use Georgie's Peanut Ash. It's a matte finished glaze, not really orange, it's more of a brown. I've also been known, if my pumpkin is really a bad pumpkin, I'll use Georgie's Rusty Nail because it kind of gives the idea that the pumpkin is in the stages of decay. All depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it. But I do use the different types of glazes to help differentiate the different types of pumpkins. You don't have to do that. That's just something that I do. All right. Smooth this out a little bit more, and then we can move on to his cheeks. I use less clay for the cheeks of the fiends, and the shape that I start out with for these is more of a comma shape, not really a bean. Again, cut it in half. Go in and push it in a little bit. Because there's such less area and less clay to be attached, I don't draw them on these guys. I just go in and score around the edges of the mouth. before we cut into him, I need to make sure and put his name because I forgot. And how would he be a fine, upstanding citizen and be nameless? All right, so as soon as I get his cheeks smoothed out, clean my hands off. His name's going to be Jax also, but it's not going to be J-A-K, it's going to be J-A-X. Because again, these are for a particular person, and she said she wanted its name to be Jack. But she didn't say what kind of pumpkin she wants. So, me being extra, I'm just going to do both. Alright, smooth that out a bit. There's his name. So, I did touch his stem a little bit right here, so I need to come in and just fix that. Again, starting with the eyes. That's pretty cool looking. I'm gonna have to adjust his right eye because I cut a little further down in the face on the opposite side. So, but that's okay. I'm going to leave that there. Mouth, again, coming from the center, cutting down. Coming up into the cheek. finger. And as I'm doing the upper part, the inside of his mouth, I'm kind of pulling out on the clay just a little bit because it looked a little flat. Be careful. I have manipulated these so much that I have cracked their faces. With the fiends, it's not such a big deal because then you can just give them stitches. But you can overdo it. So clean his face up just a little bit. Then I'm going to take, like I did with the other one, and I'm just going to pinch on both sides, swapping that mouth, pushing it in, taking this, I'm going to give him exaggerated dimples just a little bit. Now, I am also going to give our little fiend guy here a couple of horns. Because his brother looks so sweet. I know my arm's in the way, I'm sorry. All right. He just needs to be cleaned up just a little bit around his horns and he'll be absolutely perfect. Again, you can go anywhere with these, or make them larger, make them smaller. It's really completely up to you. So here is Jax. And here is also Jax. Thank you for coming along with me in this journey. Please like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.